Hi, I'm Mitra Sorrells in the PhocusWire studio at the Phocuswright Conference, and I am joined by Kayak co-founder and CEO Steve Hafner. Thanks for taking a few minutes to talk.
It's my pleasure.
So you just came off the stage a short time ago with Douglas Quinby. I noticed he jokingly asked you if you're surprised that you're still CEO of Kayak, and as part of your response, you said, no, there's a lot of unfinished business. So tell me more about that unfinished business.
Sure. I mean, look, we've been at it for 14 years now at Kayak, but we still don't search every airline, every OTA, every hotel. So we need to bring that onto the platform, and then we need to make the result set a little bit more intuitive, a little bit more personalized. So instead of giving you 3,000 options, we just give you the 5 that really matter to you. So there's a lot that we want to do to make Kayak better the more you use it. And it's still early days on that stuff.
So I'm curious, how do you do that? How do you give me the 5 that really are going to resonate with me?
We have to observe, because if we ask you, nobody wants to complete a wizard online and say, actually, I care about a 4-star hotel close to city center that's not too expensive.
Right.
Instead, you have to observe what they're actually clicking on and interacting with, and then based on that, suggest something else.
So another point that you touched on is the idea that one way to grow is to get some of those people who are booking straight onto the OTAs, going straight to the OTAs, to start with the meta search. How do you do that?
Well, you do it 2 ways. You have a better product experience. So if you come to Kayak, you're going to get a complete picture of your travel options, because we have all the Expedia rates, all the Travelocity rates, all the Orbitz rates, et cetera. The second is a heck of a lot of marketing.
Right. Okay. So, you know, one thing that I was thinking about when Kayak began, 2004, it was all about the flight price comparison and search and all of that. Then you've been building, you've added hotels, car rentals, packages, and then, of course, I'm often getting news from you guys about adding the baggage measurement tool, and you've got the voice integration. Yeah, and you've got the group trip planning and all that. I'm wondering, how do you prioritize between working on and improving what you have versus adding new?
It's not an either or, you staff up for it. So the reason all these companies are getting bigger and expanding in scope is because you need to have a massive engineering team to do a lot of stuff well. And all of us need to do a lot of stuff well in the space to keep up with the goons at Google and elsewhere. So, you know, for us, it's about hiring great talent, giving them discrete projects, and then turning them loose.
So some of those things that I mentioned that you're adding are kind of fun little add-on. Is that just like a little value add maybe for the traveler?
It is. You're talking about the baggage.
The baggage
measurement.
The augmented reality. Kind of a cool. Yeah,
it's
I
tried
fun.
It. You know, what's amazing about that is you hold your cell phone up for folks who aren't familiar with it, and it will take a picture of your suitcase and tell you if it fits on the overhead rack or not. What's amazing is what people actually use that to scan.
Yeah, I'm sure.
But it's a fun app.
So I know you announced a few weeks ago a partnership with Quicket, correct, to gather some of the data around, you know, the seat and the amenities on a plane. What other types of information or services can you provide to travelers maybe to make the experience a little better?
Yeah, well, I mean, right now our core was comparing travel options and prices,
right,
and giving you choice on where to book. It's evolved now to, you know, giving you suggestions on when to buy, where to go, and if there are baggage fees, you know, we disclose those and give you a tool for that. And if there's differences in the class of service, so basic economy, as I mentioned earlier, on American is very different than basic economy on Continental, and very, very different from basic economy on Spirit.
Right, right. So let's talk about, you again touched a little bit on this, about, you know, Google is growing quite rapidly in hotel search volume. Meta's a little bit down in that area. How do you compete in that arena?
We just need to compete with a better product and with a lot of marketing. So, you know, hotel search was down for a couple of our competitors. It's not down for Kayak.
Okay.
So we're growing right through it. And it's a big marketplace, and I don't think it's a winner-take-all category. And shame on us if we can execute Google, because we've got our best and brightest people thinking about travel. Google doesn't have their best and brightest people thinking about travel. They're doing self-driving cars and other cool stuff.
That's true. You also mentioned on stage that the day may come when Meta and OTA merge, that concepts merge more, the products merge more. Is that something that's on your radar for Kayak, and what might that mean?
It is, because what Meta started out as was, we want to show you all travel options, and then we want to hand you off to a company who's actually providing the service, even if that's an OTA. And we didn't want to get our fingers dirty with actually providing the customer service. But as the technology has advanced in terms of chatbots and voice and AI, I think we can do more and more customer service without actually having people. And what we don't want to have is live people doing customer service. That defeats the purpose of meta search. So I think the OTA and meta model will emerge as the technology gets a little bit better. So it's like 3 years away.
So talk a little bit more about your thoughts there related to bots and AI and all of that. I mean, you touched a little bit, can people really use an Alexa to book, and it starts to get a little complicated, and maybe it's for the more simple.
It's an edge case. Alexa's an edge case. I mean, you can use voice to book a hotel room that you frequently travel to or use, right? You can say, hey, I'm staying at the Marriott tonight, book it for me as long as it's less than $200, and then you can just confirm it. But if you're doing a more complicated itinerary, or certainly if you're doing flights, you don't want to, there's so many input fields, you don't want to speak them.
Right.
Right? Most people now actually prefer text, right? So the idea is, how can we have a chatbot with text that allows you to do a booking that's a bit better than voice? But voice will get there for some cases.
So let's talk now about geographic expansion. You're in how many markets now as Kayak?
It's funny, I got asked this morning, I gave the wrong answer. I said 47, but the true answer is 60 markets and territories.
Okay.
And you compare that to our sister company, Booking.com, they're in over 240. So we still have a lot of room to grow.
So how does that potentially happen for you? Is it through acquisition? Is it
all of the above? It's greenfield launch in a new market, buying a local player if that makes sense, or partnering with a local player.
And would you envision that would mean maintaining the brand of that local player like you have?
Absolutely. So Kayak is probably not as well known for some of your viewers here in the US. We actually have 6 meta brands, and they're all different locally. So in Europe, we have Momondo, we have Cheap Flights, we have Kayak, Swoodoo in Germany, Check Felix in Austria, we have Mundi in Brazil, and these are all different flavors of Kayak ice cream, because they're all on the same platform. It's just the brand has resonance with the local population.
That's an interesting strategy. I mean, it sounds like it's working for you.
It works.
As opposed to trying to push the Kayak name.
All the travel options are being shipped out of the same warehouse. These are just slightly different storefronts.
Right. So a few weeks ago, it was announced that you'll be taking over leadership with OpenTable.
Right.
So can you give us a sense of how you might be dividing your time or your priorities there?
50-50.
How do you
I spent all morning at OpenTable. We have a big office here in LA of tech talent. So I spent half the day there. So it's about equal. And in terms of our employee count, we have about 850 people at Kayak. We have 1,100 at OpenTable.
Wow.
So it's about equal in terms of time there too.
You need more hours in your day, don't you?
Everybody needs more hours in their day, right?
Yeah. So I'm curious, what advice might you have for other travel startup entrepreneurs? Thinking back now on these last few decades for you and what you've learned in that journey. I mean, what might you be saying to some of the folks that are here?
It's really about tackling a problem that's worth solving. A lot of the startups that I see in the travel space are chasing an idea that's too small, that will never commercialize and turn into a real P&L. So that would be the first part of my advice. And the second was raise as much money as you can, because it's in this world now, the plumbing and the architecture of setting up a business is pretty straightforward, but you have to have a massive investment either in marketing or in sales force to actually get behavioral change and to get customers.
Yeah, and particularly challenging, I guess, with the role of Google in some of that marketing piece, isn't it, as far as...
If you're trying to get usage from people using Google, which all of us are, you're going to need to pay for it.
Yeah. So I'm curious, I know you have a lot of friends here. This is kind of like a reunion of sorts for you, probably. So when you're meeting with your friends and having some drinks and things, what are you talking about related to travel?
We're all talking about how our different businesses, how well they're doing, what we think the overall macro trends are, what we can do to collaborate and make our products better. What I love about the travel space is it's a big piece of the economy, but it doesn't have a lot of great minds in it. So when you come across great minds and great talent, you just form this natural bond. And yeah, we all compete, but we're all great friends and we collaborate more than we compete.
So you just made a reference there to the economy, and I'm reminded this morning I was talking to Brad Gerstner sitting here.
Great guy.
And he said he certainly thinks that we're going to be seeing some sort of a correction/recession coming up in the next year or two.
Absolutely.
So what are your thoughts there about the potential impact on travel and on Kayak?
Yeah, we should be able to grow right through it. It's just going to impact our growth rate. Historically, in periods of soft travel demand, the OTAs do pretty well because the hotels need to actually still fill their rooms, so they'll increase the compensation they'll pay. But the number of the units will go down. So fewer hotel reservations, but a higher margin per reservation. But Kayak, I don't worry about a travel downturn. It'll bounce back.
Okay. So final question, if I see you a year from now here at the Phocuswright Conference, what might we be talking about? What do you think might be the top topics for Kayak?
Yeah, well, hopefully we'll be talking about OpenTable, because 2019 is going to be an amazing year for OpenTable. I'm really, really bullish on what we're doing there and how we're rolling that new business model and pricing changes and stuff out. At Kayak, I hope you'll be talking about the new innovation that we've got coming down the pipeline, which I always see what's coming in the future for Kayak, so I think our existing product sucks. But hopefully it'll suck a little bit less at the end of next year.
That's, I guess, one way to frame it, isn't it?
There it is.
All right, wonderful.
Thank you
so
Appreciate
much
it.
for your time. Thank you very much.